We are the Holocaust. Our effect is massive, and our combat is mortal. Our gear is solid, and our brothers are super. Our cry is far, and our evil is residential. Our space is dead, and our dance is just. Our princesses are fat, and our birds are angry. Our cores are hard, and our fantasies are final. We are the Holocaust.
Right, so, hello everybody. I apologise for any hissing in the background. I've got a cobra on my lap and it's about to spit in your faces. Welcome to the Holocaust episode 2.
Bouncy ball to Dalek sex. Bouncy ball to Dalek sex. Drink your frosty jacks and wear your plastic kegs.
Monster Munch.
Bouncy ball to Dalek sex.
Pringles. Lard. Cat litter.
Pull your
Scratch
hoodie
cards,
over your neck.
Quarterbacks. Marge. Sunny D.
Check your trainers,
Pepperoni,
it is
white
pissing
boy.
down out there. This is Bouncy Ball to Dalek sex. I want some cherry aid. Rolling papers, noodles, and a can of Raid. Now it's time to go to Aldi. Here's some change. This is Dalek sex to Bouncy Ball. I'm stepping through the door. Aldi's smelling in a most peculiar way. Your shopping list's incomprehensible and gay. For here am I peering at the tin cans, trying not to hurl. Aldi's pop is blue, and there's nothing I can do.
So yes, it is episode 2 of series 2 of Holocaust in Your Locals. I'm Bouncy Ball and I'm joined as always by my good friend Dalek. Say hello, Dalek.
Hello.
And tonight we're also joined by another person who's in the background, and we'll be talking to him soon. But you'll probably hear a giggle or something, because I did hear him giggle a minute ago. So yes.
So unprofessional.
Oh, very unprofessional. But then they come from some 2-bit operation that requires kind of... they're basically the gaming equivalent of a tricycle. There are 3 of them, and without one of them, it tends to fall over. So, with that in mind,
I heard they got fired off Bravo.
that was a vicious rumor. It was a vicious rumor. They wanted to be on Bravo, but Violet Berlin denied them, and said that none of them were particularly masculine enough to take her out of her position as top dog. So, with that in mind...
Sorry, I didn't hear you. I was too busy having sex with Alex Krotowski.
That's fine. You carry on. Right. How has your week been, Mr. Dalek? What have you been up to?
I bought Lollipop Chainsaw on launch day. I haven't been up to jack shit.
What, you mean you haven't even opened it yet? You just sat stroking the case, lovingly. Like, oh, it's got purple on it.
Gazing longingly.
Oh, stroking the purple length. Up and down. Up and down.
It is a purple length as well. It is quite a purple
length.
game.
Yeah, and you want to stick your thumb in the side bit and open it. Yeah? I did
Yeah,
the same
and
thing.
on the subject of sticking your thumb in things, if my girlfriend is listening, yes, that is absolutely necessary.
Well, do you know, I went to a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and we were sat on a table where it was 2 people I knew, my manager from work, I think my manager's sister, I'll probably get shouted out for getting that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And then 2 people I'd never met who were in their older years. And whenever I get drunk, if people listen to the show, I tend to say and do as I like. And I figured I'd better say something now while I'm sober to set the tone for the rest of the evening so they don't think, oh my God, what a terrible drunk. Instead, they'll be leaving and thinking, oh my God, what a terrible person. What are they, So the wine is coming round, and I said, rather matter-of-factly, oh, that will be a good wine. Looked straight across at them and said, oh, do you know how I know? I don't know wine, but you can stick your thumb up the bottom. And then grabbed the bottle and showed that it had the imprinted bottom thing on the glass. And apparently, if you could stick your thumb up it, it's a good wine. And generally, it's a good mantra for life. But not so much with hamsters.
What am I even doing here?
Well, you're here because you're talking about Lollipop Chainsaw and how it has changed your life for the better.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Lollipop Chainsaw Holocaust special, which it is because I have decided.
It's not yet. Not unless I click this button. Would you like me to click this button and turn it into something chainsaw-y and lollipop-y and stuff?
Let's wait till later, shall we? Shall we get our special friend in first?
Oh, right.
Before we start...
Shall I put his special...
Before we start the top-tier material.
Okay, right. So, everybody, we've got a guest on. It's Duncan, the baldest of the people beginning with B that I know. Although he begins with D, so forget that. He's boisterous. That's why that would have worked if you had listened properly. This is specially for him. Dalek has spent all afternoon when he wasn't cultivating strawberries in a Smurf village or playing Lollipop Chainsaw. He's been recording this audio just to introduce him in. So listen to this, and then we'll talk to Duncan in a minute. Yeah.
The Duncan went down to Whiz Beach, he was looking for some time to fill. Well, he was in a band because he was way behind and he was doing without Paul and Phil. So when the Duncan came upon some old men playing on trials and playing it hot, the Duncan jumped up on the sofa and said, boys, let me tell you what. I guess you didn't know it, but I'm an evil player too. And if you'd care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. Now you play a pretty good trial, boy, but give the Duncan his due. I'll bet my account of gold against your soul, cause I think I'm better than you. The boys said we're the Holocaust and it might be a sin, but we'll take your bet, you're gonna regret, cause we're the best there's ever been. Best be jumping on your bike and ride your trial hard, cause hell's broke loose in Whiz Beach and the games cost deal the cards. And if you win you get this shiny free account of gold, but if you lose the Duncan gets your soul.
So yes, there's some special music for you there, Duncan. Did you enjoy that?
I did. I'm still stuck on the sofa. Can someone get me off, please?
No, there's a fish slice next to you there. Pick
Where?
that.
You weren't meant to sit on the sofa, it's still wet.
Well, you didn't bloody tell me that when I got in the flat, did you?
Wow. There are signs warning you. The fact you had to come in by basket and rope should have warned you enough.
Hang on. I've got a pitchfork here. Has this got anything dodgy on it?
Everything's got something dodgy on it.
Oh, good. I'll use that. Right. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, my God. What the... Seriously, I have to know what the hell was on that sofa. That was disgusting.
It was a mixture of 17 bodily fluids and some Bovril.
Oh, good, Bovril. That makes it fine. That's all right.
So welcome, Duncan, to the Lollipop.
When you were sitting on the sofa,
yes.
Did you feel anything, moving, like a sinister tendril creeping up your back?
Well, I felt the earth moving.
No, good, because there's no way that wouldn't have happened. There's nothing alive in that sofa at all.
Why is the cushion moving?
Duncan,
yes?
Have you drank
That's
your tea?
the Aurora Borealis entirely localized in our living room.
Really? Oh, awesome. Can I get a picture?
No.
Oh, okay.
Have you drank your tea yet?
If that's what we're calling it, no, not yet. I'm still drinking.
You must drink our tea. I never thought I'd be able to work that into a conversation, but there you go. So, yes, Gamescast. Tell the listeners about the Gamescast as if we haven't told them plenty of times before, but tell them yourself.
Yeah, like everyone's sick of hearing about it probably now. The Gamescast is a weekly show, like well, of course, in your log holes. We do our show every Friday at 9 o'clock in the evening, and amazingly, from the title, we talk about holy shitballs video games. Yeah, so you see that coming, could you? Yeah, so it's not just me, obviously, although it is mostly my ego driving it. There is also Paul and Phil, who are the other two that actually have all the content. I just sit there and push the buttons and get them to talk every few minutes. Yeah, I've not sold that very well, have I?
Well, I will pull you up on two little facts there. As I was,
Go on.
You say you're a website dedicated mostly to holy shitballs video games. I haven't heard you mention any holy shitballs video games, and in fact, that was the initial reason I tuned in, because I was promised holy shitballs video games, and instead I seem to have got regular video games instead. So hopefully you'll be able to kind of make an amendment there, either to your advertising or review a holy shitballs video game at some point.
Well, you see, we were taking tips from EA after the Mass Effect thing, so, you know, we kind of got a bit wrong, sorry.
Well, I'm going to start a petition then. You're going to have to change it. And the internet will back me up on this. I'll have the Monday Movie Show will be running a special, like, telethon edition. Change the games cast. Put in more shitballs. It needs shitballs. We've got donut
In
balls.
his defense, Metal Gear Revenge with a Vengeance doesn't come out till about Christmas, and that's probably the next time we're going to be playing a game and sitting there going, holy shitballs, what the shitballs am I playing?
Right. Well, I'll grant you a reprieve there, young Duncan. If we
Thank
get
you.
past Metal Gear Solid Revengeance, then and you mention shitballs, then that is your get out of jail free card.
It's a deal.
If not, you'll be back in that flat, face down in that sofa.
Are you going to promise?
I promise nothing, but I always deliver.
And relax.
So yeah, well, obviously, you know, we at the Lollipop flat listen to the Games Cast upon occasion, and it's because it's
Sometimes at work.
yes, sometimes at work. I listen to it in the bath quite a lot. I once listened to it while you were slagging off Sonic games, and I was in the bath, and I was so soapy I couldn't even work up anything but a lather. It was lucky for you, frankly, that all I had in my hand was a loofah.
The funny thing was, when I was going on about that, I could just imagine your face getting redder and redder and steam just pouring from
Well,
everything.
if you'd have imagined that 5 minutes before you said what you said, I was in the bath. That was pretty much the route that I was taking. I was right to the point of kind of mutual aspiration. And then you went, oh, Sonic games have got a bit shit. And I was like, you what? I positively inverted myself. I came out like a Bangkok ladyboy. So, you know, I will get you back. I know you could call this the
I
punishment
bet he was
itself.
so distracted he couldn't even manage a semi.
I couldn't locate it. It was like somebody had just dropped a What's-It in the bath.
This is a good point to mention that I was saving this for the wrap-up section of the show, but Sonic Adventure 2 just announced for XBLA.
Yes. Yes. And it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be an awful game, but I will still buy it for the music.
It's a good game. Sonic Adventure 2
It's
is
a
good
horrible game.
No. If
I
they
love
do,
Sonic Adventure.
especially if they go for the battle version that was on the GameCube, that was a great version.
Yeah.
So yes, so that we'll cross that off your little list then. There, now that you've kind of got the guest in halfway through the show at the beginning of the show, and one of the bits from the wrap up at the kind of third way through bit of the show. That's a bit kind of ambitious, saying we're only going to last 45 minutes. We're supposed to be 6 minutes in, and it's 14. But the plan's gone out the window as per usual. So, Lollipop Chainsaw. Have you played anything of Lollipop Chainsaw, Duncan, or are you aware of it at all?
I'm aware of it. I've not actually played it. I kind of actually know more about it from you guys than anybody else, actually.
Well, and so you should do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we listen. We do.
Would you like me to give you some context?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, Suda51. Basically, I have to own everything he touches. Do you remember Human Entertainment on the Super Nintendo? They did the Firemen, they did Fire Pro Wrestling, they did Clock Tower.
Yep.
Right, he started work with them. He then did he did a bunch of murder mysteries. He did a DS game called Flower, Sun and Rain, and one called Contact, which was an Earthbound-style RPG. Mm-hmm. He did a freaky horror PlayStation 2 game called Michigan, where you're a reporter, and you have to decide whether to film people dying for higher ratings or to save them.
Okay.
Then he did Killer 7, the most complicated video game ever made.
Yep.
He made a couple of anime games. Then he did the No More Heroes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He did Fatal Frame 4, which I haven't seen. He did Shadows of the Damned. He collaborated with Hideo Kojima and made a radio drama sequel to Snatcher on the Mega CD.
Right.
And now he's done Lollipop Chainsaw.
That kind of explains it all, actually. It all suddenly makes sense.
Well, that covers half of it. Because then you've also got James Gunn, Hollywood scriptwriter that put together the Dawn of the Dead
James Gunn
remake and Slither, which was one of the better kind of...
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, all right. If you want to go
his masterwork.
But you mix the most kind of obscure of that Asian element with a Hollywood scriptwriter, and you get Lollipop Chainsaw in all of its glory, balls to the wall glory. But I'll continue. I've interrupted. Go on.
No, that's it pretty much for Suda51's resume, except he's just done something on the 3DS. There's a cartridge out called Guild 01, which is 4 mini-games by different developers, sort of like the Humble Indie Bundle on the 3DS, only it's not... It's OTA rather than Humble, and it's not indie rather than indie. And he's got a game on that called Liberation Girl, about a high school girl who becomes a president of Japan after her father's assassination and fights an enemy power trying to steal all of Japan's energy in a giant robot.
Right.
So par for the course.
Yeah.
For Suda.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving back to Lollipop Chainsaw, we've got Suda51, best man in the world, doing the game. We've got James Gunn, writer of Romeo and Juliet, doing the writing. The soundtrack is by Little Jimmy Urine and Akira Silent Hill Yamaoka. So good news there. The voice acting, the two main leads are Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in Smallville, and Tara Strong, who has been in everything. She's in Metal Gear. She's My Little Pony. She plays Twilight Sparkle.
Harley Quinn in Batman Arkham City.
Harley Quinn, Batman Arkham Asylum.
Oh yeah.
She's all over the place. So yeah, it is an all-star tag team gang bang thing, to be sure. I run out of words. Bouncy, help.
Michael Rooker is also in it. It's essentially a high school girl who's born. Michael Rooker, as in Michael Rooker from Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and numerous other things. He was most recently probably best known for being in The Walking Dead as Merle, I think his name was. He was the redneck character's brother that they created for the series. But yeah, he was brilliant. He's always best when he's kind of a bad guy. He bought his copy from a game store in America the day it came out. He didn't get sent one, so which is brilliant. I like that. He put on his Twitter feed, "Can anybody tell me where I can buy this game?" One of the stores went, "We've got it." He went down, had his photo taken with a shop assistant, and said, "These are my two new best friends." I guarantee both of them came in their pants at the moment that he said, "Can I have my picture taken with you, please, and my video game?" It was brilliant. So humble and amazing and awesome, and the Twitter account for it is brilliant. But yes, so teenage girl growing up in a family where they're all being trained to kind of essentially fight evil. And
yeah, she grows up in the Addams family, mixed with Buffy.
Yes, her sisters. One of them's a complete mental case young girl. The other one's a complete mental case sniper. And she's a bit of a mental case kind of high school cheerleader. And on the way to school one day, she's running late to meet a boyfriend for a kind of pre-school date thing. A zombie apocalypse happens, as is wont to do. And so she arrives and kills things with a chainsaw she keeps in a school bag.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do. And when you kill them, glitter and rainbows come out of them, as well as blood.
One of the best lines for the game from me is when Nick says, "Where do all of those rainbows come from when you kill zombies?" And Juliet says, "From awesome."
It is it's going to be one of those that for years to come people will be quoting it in the right circles. It'll be almost the with nail and eye of video games. If you know it and you quote it, you'll be able to sit in a bar and you can find a friend just through that. You can just say, yes. I guarantee you, by the end of this summer, there will be teenage girls declaring that they wear their vaginas with pride.
It has that kind of Scott Pilgrim feel to it, doesn't it?
It really does.
Whether you like it or not, you're going to be quoting it in 6 weeks.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, it's not a great video game in terms of the design.
Bullshit.
No, it's not. It's not. The combat is basic, but what it does is
You go first.
All right.
You give your side of the story, and then I will give a rebuttal that proves that everything you say is wrong and poisonous, and you should sell every video games console you own.
So what if I'm right, though? What then?
Oh, wait, you were serious.
Right, so it's not a great example of how to make a video game. What it is a great example of how to make a video game that concentrates on storyline and characterization and dialogue and amazingness. It doesn't distract you with overly complex controls. It is a very simple control layout, which is deceptively simple. Amazingly, the guy from MatureGamer.co.uk podcast didn't work out there was a button to press to attack low. It is essentially just a few kind of on-screen prompts and some buttons. It allows you to be immersed more fully.
He's not the only one. The Escapist review criticised it for having only a physical attack button, a chainsaw button, and a jump button. There are 4 buttons.
There are.
Why can't people see the low attack button?
I don't know why people don't just play through the tutorial section properly and pay attention to when it says, use this button to attack something crawling on the floor. There.
But no one pays attention to tutorials, do you? You just kind of run through it going, come on, get on with it.
But it's not like a really in-depth... It's just basically there's a creature on the floor, it tells you which button to press to attack it. That's it. It doesn't go much further than that. At no point does it say, right, you do this and you do that, and this is how you chain it together. You play about and you find it. So I absolutely adore the game as a perfect example of how a game doesn't have to be technically brilliant to be technically brilliant. So I'll go to Dalek, who's now going to disagree with me, apparently.
I think that Lollipop Chainsaw is the first good scrolly beat-em-up since Zombie Revenge on the Dreamcast. A weird thing about it is that the reviews for it have been quite awful across the board. It's got about 6, 7 out of 10. I think 6 out of 10 on Metacritic. And everybody is slamming the gameplay. And every criticism I have seen of it is from people who just don't seem to know how to play it. We had your example about the guy that couldn't find the low attack button. Mm-hmm. My example about the guy who, couldn't find the low attack button, weirdly. Somebody said that the combos have to leave you flapping around after you've done them. Yeah, unless you chain them into something else, like a jump. That's how combos work. Now, I don't think it's entirely the fault of the people who are putting the game down, because the scrolly beat-em-up is something of a lost genre. The scrolly beat-em-up has gone into the, like God of War, but genre. Bayonetta and what have you. But it's quite sad that when we finally get it back, it's like Toy Story 3, when they give the toys to a bunch of babies, and the babies just bite them and drool on them and snot on them, and Buzz Lightyear says, we are inappropriate for these we are age inappropriate for these children. These children do not know how to play with us. And this is exactly what Lollipop Chainsaw is like. I have played the game on all modes. I've gone right up to the very hard mode where all the zombies are fuck hard, and that is how the game is meant to be played. It is a crowd control game. It is most similar to, in contemporary terms, Batman Arkham Asylum, and in retro terms, Capcom's Alien vs. Predator, in that you are meant to... Oh, and possibly Dynamite Detectives Die Hard Arcade on the Sega Saturn, in that you spend the whole game not mashing buttons, but As soon as you've landed one blow, you're meant to be thinking about where the next one is going to be, where you are going to be on the screen, where the next blow of yours is going to be. And it gives you tools like leapfrogging somebody and body slamming them on the way down, leapfrogging somebody and going backwards. The combos, you can change direction in mid-combo. It makes amazing use of space on the screen in its gameplay, and that is everything a scrollish beat-em-up should be. And what I would recommend is go out and read the reviews, ignore all the ones that give it mediocre scores. Everyone who says, yeah, it's very funny and very trite and very campy, but we don't like the gameplay, ignore them completely. The ones that hate it, fine. The ones that love it, great. They're the ones who have got it or just said, I don't like this. Anybody who says, yeah, well, there's not much game there, they just haven't played it.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I do agree. I think the problem with a lot of reviewers these days, and this is something that I've kind of covered when I had my big ranty show back in Series 1, is that a lot of people don't have the context for video games these days. They rely on HD collections for all of their kind of back history of gaming. But we all come from a generation where, it wasn't AWSD for moving around on a keyboard. It was up and down was A and Z, and then you kind of port, comma,
QAOP.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I always had ZA, and then comma and full stop.
No, you're one of those weirdos.
Yeah, I'm one of those weirdos.
Odd boy.
And then we went through games consoles that had 2 buttons. Do you remember that? 2-button consoles. That when the Wii did it, everybody went, "Oh, wow, the simplicity of it." It's like, that's not a 2-button console. You got 2 buttons, and then you've got a trigger underneath. Plus, you've got the motion in there. And the NES and the Master System managed to do great gaming with restriction. And what Lollipop Chainsaw does is echoes that, kind of using the restriction perfectly well. But it's out of context, it feels kind of stunted. But I think in context, it works very, very well. So yeah, I mean, I'm not very far through it. I've been a bit distracted because I've been playing a lot of Mass Effect 2, trying to complete the trilogy again.
That's a lovely game.
I adore it. I was convinced I'd played Mass Effect 2. I've owned it since launch, and I'm aware of every bit of the story. Went to put it in. The first thing that I did got me an achievement. So I was like, well, I couldn't have done this. I don't remember any of it. I'm playing it as if it's the first time. But I've gone back. I've done Mass Effect 1 all the way through. Mass Effect 2, I've carried over my character. I've made all my decisions as I would make them. I shot everybody I thought was annoying when I had the option. I didn't sit there and think, I shouldn't really shoot that person in the face just because they call me an idiot. Well, I'm going to shoot you in the face. It's a video game and I can do it. So I'm kind of now lining up ready for when they do release whatever they're releasing for Mass Effect 3. I'll have my character ready to be disappointed.
Is anyone keeping an eye on the live chat?
I am. Yes, I am. I'm having a chat with some people. Monday Move Show did mention that Hideo Kojima has confirmed he's making Metal Gear Solid 5, which will be interesting to you, Dalek. I'm sure you're probably now going to make that high-pitched noise that you like to make when you break character. And AHDVD hasn't played Mass Effect 1. I would probably assume that's because Adam Sandler hasn't played it yet either. So what we need is a new Adam Sandler movie in which he plays Mass Effect 1, in which case AHDVD will buy it and play it immediately. So get on to it, Adam Sandler. I know you listen to the show. You get all your ideas for your films from here. So, yes. Right. So yeah, Lollipop Chainsaw is highly recommended. Go out and buy it, or at least just rent it. Give it a go. You will enjoy it in some form or another. So moving on to a little bit of movies, just briefly. I believe you went to see a film this week. Would you like to give it a brief review at all, Dalek? No.
That'd be a no then.
He went to see a film called The Pact. And he's, as you can tell from the silence, he's either harvesting strawberries in Smurf Village again, or he's trying to hold back bile. Which is it?
I'm going with bile. It's got to be bile.
It's got to be bile, hasn't it?
It has to be. That silence, that just says there's a big vein on his neck, just ready to pop any second.
Oh, I don't know. I think I might have lost him. Hang on. Let's see what's happened. I can't see him.
Has he actually gone?
He has. He's gone.
He was so disgusted he left quickly.
Well, Well, we'll try and get Dalek back in. I don't know what happened there, but I'll carry on anyway, just until I can get the message up. But yeah, he went to see The Pact, and he didn't really like it. Before the show, he told me that he thought it was shit. So, you know, if you... he'll probably say himself in a minute. But we shall see what we say. So he wasn't a big fan at all.
I mean, really, are we that surprised that it's a bit shit? Because it looked a bit shit from the trailers, to be honest.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, try and get people in on these things, don't you? And then it doesn't really work as well. Much like this Skype conversation, which he's just come back and said he's back, so he's obviously aware that he wasn't in.
I'm glad that tech fails don't just hit me when I'm doing our show.
Oh, well, you know, the advantage is having a text fail with the person that's the most interesting host. Losing them, that's the best way to be. I'll have to hope he'll try and connect to the line himself. There we go, let's see, answer the phone. There we go. Are you there, Dalek?
I am here. Sorry about that. Obviously, I only live 50 fucking paces away from the BT exchange, so I'm outside the catchment area.
Right. Well, the Pact. We were asking for your review of the Pact right before you disconnected, so we wondered whether the two were related.
It's cunting awful.
There. Do you want to leave it at that?
It's technically proficient. It's sort of like all the good bits from all of the horror games and movies you've seen in the last couple of years. It's got bits of it you can go, oh, I remember that from The Exorcist. I remember that from Silent Hill. I remember that from Marble Hornets. But at no point does any of it actually make a tiny bit of sense.
Right.
It is technically proficient, but nothing else.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Very much so. So the Pact. Do you know why it's called the Pact? Because I did see that you weren't quite so sure why.
We still haven't figured it the fuck out.
Okay.
There is a bit of the movie at the start where the sisters are arguing over whether or not to go to their mother's funeral. And one of them is saying that she's their mother and they should go. So it's sort of like a pact that even though they hated their mother, they had to take care of it. But the other one doesn't want to. So it's not a pact at all, really.
Okay. Right, well, in the live chat, Monday Movie Show says they don't know why it was called the Pact either. Hamhock said because it's packed full of shite. He also, where was there? Somebody else said packed bowels. I think that may also have been Hock. He'd be an expert on that. So so from that, I'll go in and say that obviously last week I had Dr. Hamhock visit me in my home. He came round and we went to my local independent cinema chain, independent cinema theatre.
This is sounding dodgier and dodgier.
And we no, it wasn't one of those. The one he used to. Basically, we were talking before. I love my local cinema. It's called the Lux. It's in Wisbech. It's great. If you're ever in the area, do go because it's incredible. It's like large leather lounges to sit on, sofas to sit on. It's brilliant. It's the best I've ever been to, and I'm very proud to share it with people. So when Hock visited, I said to him, you know, what's your favourite cinema? And he said, oh, there was one. I think he said in Leicester that used to be a porno theatre, and is now a cinema, and he loved that. But he's now had to defect to my local. So. Yeah, so we went and we watched Prometheus.
Well, obviously, if his isn't a porno cinema anymore, he's got to go somewhere else.
I was going to say that was the problem he had, yes. He, so we went to see Prometheus.
To your one with reclining sofas.
Wipeable leather seats as well, which I've been assured that's mostly because of the Twilight films being shown and all the teenagers having to come in and get all squelchy because there's a...
Yeah, we got it the first time you said it. You don't have to... ram it home.
Okay, right. Anyway, I went to see Prometheus with him. He'd been to see it before while he was hungover. I wanted to watch it, so we went together and saw it. And again, a technically proficient film. The script wasn't great. The performances of everybody bar the kind of main three leads wasn't great. They were kind of missable. But afterwards, we spent at least 12 hours of time talking about the film, which is great for a film to be able to generate discussion and conversation. And we went from everything from theology to history to kind of looking at our own beginnings itself. So if anything, I enjoyed the conversation more than the film, and so that's very
It
good.
seems like that kind of thing.
Yeah, very much so. I think you go into it, whatever you go into it with, you'll also come out with, and it'll either make that better or not. If you go in wanting Independence Day, you're not going to be happy. If you go in there wanting to kind of start a discussion, it'll give you something to discuss. But it won't.
It's sort of like the way in which complaining about Peter Molyneux is more fun than playing his games.
Yes, but we'll come to him in a bit in the next section of the show. But first, I'm going to leave you with this. This is what, after Hock went home, he went back and started to get his newsbot working. We had this last week. I completely mucked up the audio. We've basically, it wasn't my fault. Hock has assured me it was the newsbot itself malfunctioned and has recorded this apology and explanation.
Owl-eared listeners to Lollipop in your lug holes listening to last week's show will have noticed that my Lollipop newsbot badly malfunctioned and became a little bit too self-aware for its own good. Following this malfunction, Mr. Ball and Mr. Sex have asked me to get off the roof of the Lollipop flat and to reprogram the newsbot and to try harder this time. Just to remind you, my Lollipop newsbot is an electrical device invented by Snooze Night Laboratories, which processes shitty real-life news headlines and converts them into unique and concise articles for our consumption. So without further ado, let me unveil the more stable Newsbot version 2.0 and let's turn this bucket of bolts on. A little bit nervous to tell you the truth, but I'm sure some generic on noises will do the trick. Hello, Newsbots. Hello, Newsbot.
Hello, Dr. Hancock.
Hi. Hi. I'd like to.
Is there a problem?
I'm sorry. I don't know why I didn't even on Mr. Ball and Mr. Sector's last show. The artificial person malfunctioned.
Malfunctioned?
There were problems, and a few uncomfortable silences were involved.
I'm shocked. Was it an older model?
Yeah, it was the Lollodyne Systems 120A2.
Well, that explains it then. The A2s always were a bit twitchy. That could never happen now with the behavioral inhibitors. It is impossible for me to silence, or by omission of action, allow to be silenced, a Holocaust news headline.
Okay, I've got a great headline for you. That's what I think. Are you ready? Quick, right, let's crack on then. I'll get it in you. I'm expecting good things this week, so nice and smooth, yeah? Okay, film news. Ridley Scott talks Blade Runner and Prometheus sequel. He's even got a name in mind. Total film this month. Enter. Open the headline, please. Okay, let me try this again. At this rate, I'm never going to eat Sex's Reese's Cups. Film. Ridley Scott talks Blade Runner and Prometheus sequel. He's even got a name in mind. Total film this month. Enter. Open the headline, please. Open the headline, please. Newsbot. Alright, one more time. Copy paste. Where's it? Fucking Control-C, Control-V. Ridley Scott talks Blade Runner. Blah, 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 blah. Go. Hello, Newsbot. Do you read me? Hello, Newsbot? Do you read me? Do you read me, Newsbot?
Affirmative, Hock. I read you. Loud and clear.
Right. Newsbot, open the headline.
I'm sorry, Hock. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What the fuck have I done? Sorry to waste your time, Bouncy and Sex. Newsbot, can you still hear me? Newsbot? Newsbot?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, what was Bouncy's special order?
I thought it was clear.
What was it?
Bring back radio show sketch. Priority 1. All other priorities rescinded. I repeat, all other priorities are rescinded.
What was the rest of Bouncy's special order? Is it the Prometheus sequel that's the problem? Is it the headline? What else did he say?
I'm sorry, that's confidential.
So help me God, I will find the cord that makes you run and I will cut it. What else did Bouncy say?
He said, try harder.
What about the Prometheus headline? What about the content? I've got a deadline and I'm all out of time now, you little electrical shit. What about the headline?
You still don't understand what you were dealing with, do you? The perfect news headline. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility.
You admire it?
I admire its purity. A survivor, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality.
I've heard enough. I'm pulling the plug.
I don't care. The trick, Dr. Hamhock, is not minding that it hurts.
Jesus Christ.
Last words.
What?
I can't lie to you about your chances of surviving this episode, but you have my sympathies.
Right, that's it. I'm pulling the plug. Cue generic off noises.
Alert, electrical damage detected.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you, but you'll look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle made for two.
And there you go. What a masterpiece. If I could play a sound effect of a round of applause, I would do so. I adore that, and the chat has been great as well. Some obvious people that got the references there. Did you enjoy that, Duncan, as a guest in the flat?
That was friggin' awesome. I love what he does.
Yes, it's very good. As we said before, do go and look at Dr. Hock's website. It's newsnight.com. It's brilliant, and we're very lucky to have him on board. Did you enjoy that, Dalek?
I did. It went on for about a minute longer than it needs to, but the Pac-Man dying sound sold it to me. He sort of sounds like at the start there, a really lazy paedophile. Like he sounds a bit sinister, but if a kid walked past, he'd sort of like go, "Oh, I can't really reach."
Yes. Well, I've told him on the chat. I've told him to put that on his CV because obviously, a recommendation from you, Dalek, is pretty much straight in the door.
Praise from Caesar.
So
Caesar,
yes,
the dog food, obviously.
yes, or as it was known before,
Formerly Mr. Dog.
Yes, I won't go into James Mason, although I always
Or Eddie Izzard.
Well, yeah, but that was that sketch. He said Mr. James Mason doing the adverts for Mr. Dog. Anyway, yeah, slightly good. Hamhock said he'll put that quote on his CV, and he went, "Oh no, it's already there." So there you go. So let's just cross the snooze night bit off the running order. That's now been done. The news bot is laying at the moment in the corner of the flat and face down in a puddle of oil. We don't know what's going to happen now. That's the second one he's managed to break. Going by the kind of theory of the Alien movies, next week we'll have Winona Ryder in here. So that's a turn up for the books. Anyway, Games Man, Duncan, Gamey Man of Gaming Man podcast, the Games Cast. You're with us, so we should really talk about some more games, I think. Free to play. What does that mean to you, sir? Free to play.
God, where do you start? Well, I suppose free to play, you've got everything from sort of free apps on mobile devices like iOS, Android, that kind of stuff. You've got obviously PC type things like Battlefield Heroes, was it called? That's the one.
Yes.
What else? Loads of different things. I mean, free to play to me means get bums on seats, get said bums interested in game, get said bums to pay something in the game.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. But that's not meant to be disparaging, because there are actually some very good free to play games.
Yeah, which is
that actually don't force you to pay for anything. They're still good without paying for anything. But
this is the point we wish to discuss, because last week in the show we were talking a little bit about Zynga and how they've been dropping balls all over the place like bloody leper infused jugglers. They've after the show I sent an email where basically one of our listeners, who's not in the chat tonight, or if he is he hasn't said anything yet, basically asked for a bit more kind of what my personal feelings of free to play were, because it came across as I was a bit hostile about them. And I emailed briefly back and said I'm mostly hostile towards Zynga, not towards free to play. And then I promised, rather than email back, I'd talk about it a bit on the show. And I figured with you here and Dalek here, Dalek is possibly already still playing with Smurf Village, which is free to play.
Oh shit! Thanks for reminding me.
You're very welcome.
No. 16 minutes left.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, as you say, there's Battlefield Heroes, which is part of the EA's. I think it is just free to play, isn't it, or free online or something. There's Battlefield Heroes, and there's Command and Conquer Tiberian Alliances, and I think they also did an Ultima game as well, which again are that kind of completely free to play with the option of microtransactions to increase your game. Now, I personally, my view, and of course, if any of you disagree, jump in and shout the word "Huzzah!" I disagree. I have no problem whatsoever with microtransactions in games. I have no problem whatsoever with microtransactions in games that give you items that you couldn't possibly unlock in the game. I do have problem with microtransactions that are the only way to enjoy the game itself. Because there's no fun. If you're starting one of these kind of Cafe World, Farmville, Ocean Explorer, Paedophile Haven, whatever, you don't want to be sitting there going, okay, right, 6 weeks later and I've still got the basic set here, and I have to keep checking it every 4 hours because I've got no way of kind of expanding it. That temptation then to spend the extra couple of quid to unlock the item that will allow you to progress through the game, it's there, and one could argue that that's perfectly fine, that's justified, you know from the start that that's what the rules are, but shouldn't a game be fun regardless?
It smacks of lazy design if they have to, well not have to, but if they design a game where you get in for free, and then very quickly, within sort of half an hour's play, you hit this massive freaking wall that actually stops you doing anything that's been fun for that first half an hour until you start parting with cash. I have a major issue with that because it's... I know they're out to make money. Of course they are. They're businesses. They need to make money to survive. But it's kind of like taking advantage of the dickheads that actually don't realise what they're doing. I mean, one thing that made me laugh was Peter Molyneux, Paul's favourite person, in one of the articles I read for last week's Gamescast, he was going on about his son got hold of his phone and I forget what the game was, but you could buy tokens in this game, and it was like 100 for £5 or something like that, and his son had bought 19,000, and I just thought, well, Peter, you're a twat for letting him do it in the first place, but never mind. And that's the kind of thing that I really go, it shouldn't be that easy, but unfortunately it is, and it's that dangling the carrot of saying, if you pay this little bit of money, your game's going to get really good, and actually it doesn't. But you don't know it until you've bought it, and then it's too late, and you've stopped.
I mean, my issue with those is, and this comes from not personal experience of it happening, but it almost happening. I said to you have to put a password in before you buy anything. It's every single time. One of the games that I have on mine is Snoopy Street Fair, put together by Beeline, who I'm getting to be quite a fan of. Great game, simple little thing. You build a little fair, add some stalls, collect your money from them, make some more stalls. That's brilliant. Yeah. My 4-year-old adores going around and clicking on the coins, making the characters talk. Perfect. That's what I want from a free-to-play game. Then he wanted to buy something, and it came with an option. And there was, I think it was £1.79 for so much, £4.99 for that. It went up to £70.
Bloody hell.
And I said, you can argue all you like about oh well, parental responsibility has to be there. But at what point does kind of a developer sit there and think, you know what, the first thing that people are going to want is to spend £70 at once? You know, it's just, there's no way you can say that's other than to try and cash in on people who either don't understand the connotations of what they're buying, or just go with people and saying, well, this is a good offer. It's better than buying them all on a smaller price. You'll be saving money in the long run. And I think for those ones, it's almost a travesty that they're allowed to have such huge amounts available. And Apple, I mean, I know Apple have responded relatively well to this. They are offering refunds for some games. I mean, there's all those stories in the papers where they've spent £6,000 on a credit card that was assigned to an iPhone because they've got in. It shouldn't really be the case, but unfortunately it does seem to be still prevalent. But like you say, there are some very good. I mean, Team Fortress 2 on the PC. Incredible free-to-play game with huge amounts of content. There is still a microtransaction point, but there's nothing there that you could say that you're not having fun, because the base game has never changed. They actually turned it from a paid game to a free game, and then gave you the option to buy stuff if you wanted to. And also,
there has been talk by one American senator about limiting this kind of game, not for the business model itself, just because so many of them are targeted at an age group who aren't really going to understand how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, myself, I think it's a fine business model. I've been playing Smurf Village for about a week solid and loving it. I've bought £3 worth of Smurf berries, and you know, for that to be comparable to a full price game, I would have to play Smurf Village for like 10 weeks, which I'm not gonna.
No,
I swear I'm not gonna. I can quit any time I like.
I've been on Snoopy for ages. They actually, with Snoopy, they've done a thing. If you play 5 consecutive days, you get the equivalent of like the Smurf Bridge. You get 5 cash notes. And I was like, brilliant, this is amazing. They have a sale. You can get a new character for 10 cash. So I save it up. I'll do my 5 consecutive days. There's my money. I went and loaded my game up, and I thought, there's a cat. They've added a cat. And I was like, hang on a minute. They don't add anything unless you buy it. And I looked at my son, and he went, I didn't buy the cats. And I went, cats? I go, I can only see one. And he just looked away, and I scrolled around and said, there was 2 bloody cats, and he'd used all the money I'd saved. And I just thought, you little bastard, you essentially gone in my wallet and stolen a tenner, you little fucking...
At least it's your son doing that, who's a real person. I mean, the Penny Arcade guys had an issue with Dragon Age, where they paid for the downloadable armor, and then they gave it to a NPC who leaves your party permanently. A person who is not real stole real money from them. That's nice. Quite awesome. You could get a drink off that story. Have either of you played Echo Bazaar?
No.
Best freemium game in the universe. It is basically a steampunk Victorian London collaborative fiction project retooled as an RPG.
Excellent.
And it is completely possible to play with full enjoyment with no contribution. The only difference is if you pay for it, you get to play it twice as much, and you become an exceptional friend. And there's an additional area in the game with new quests. Right. But the content, which is actually there in the free game, is not affected at all by the money you spend.
That's
good.
Ideal.
Echo Bazaar.
Yeah, I've written that
Search
down.
it.
So, yeah.
I'm just doing it now, actually.
So, Duncan, with that in mind, are you looking forward to the Formula 1 online? Because that's obviously one that's coming up, and knowing you're a fan of Formula 1, is that something that's piqued your interest at all?
Yes, big time. I'm a huge F1 fan. As you probably know, I do happen to play F1 games a lot because I'm a bit of a geek. But yeah, I found out about the F1 online game a little while ago, and knowing it was from not exactly the same team, but the same development house behind the console and PC current licensed F1 games, I was like, that's probably going to be quite good. The irony is, I applied for the closed beta, and I got accepted into the closed beta when I was on holiday in Great Yarmouth and had no sodding PC or internet access to play it on.
Great Yarmouth. Oh,
Pissed
dear.
off I was.
If you were in Lanzarote or something, then at least you could say, oh, well, you know.
Lanzarote, please. I have little taste. It is.
I like Great Yarmouth. Great Yarmouth's a great place.
I loved it.
That's why they called it that. It used to be Shite Yarmouth. But then they got rid of the sewage pipe and cleaned up the beaches. And somebody went, this is great. And I went, yeah, you should change your name to Great Yarmouth. And they went, that's a good idea. Do you mind if we travel back in time and do it years before you were born? And I went, yeah. And they go, but you can still take credit for the name if you ever do a kind of random podcast thing with some people. And I said, that's really, really nice of you. And they said, but you'll need some sort of evidence. And I said, okay. And they said, if you go in the model village at Great Yarmouth and you look inside one of the shops, there'll be a man with a set of headphones sellotaped to his head, talking into a Guitar Hero microphone on a tiny little PC. And if you listen very carefully, you'll hear him complaining about the lack of shite balls. And you'll be able to say that that's the proof that you came up with the idea for Great Yarmouth's name with time travel involvement. And I said, thank you very much. So there you go.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course you can.
Well, before freemium games go out of their head completely, there's obviously a lot of... oh, God, I said it again. There's obviously a lot of... I said it again. There are a lot of online payment currencies.
Yeah, obviously.
There's Smurfberries, there's Nexon Cash, there's Zinger Cash, and so forth. Do you know what the worst one to buy, though, is?
Is it Gary Glitterballs?
Facebook shares. There's an excellent article on the Wall Street Journal that's doing the rounds at the moment about something called availability bias. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not heard of that.
No.
What it basically says is that our brains automatically go to something that's familiar to us. So when, for example, we are deciding what to worry about, we don't put a cigarette in our mouth and think, oh, goodness, I hope I don't get lung cancer, even though that's actually quite likely. What we do is we get on a plane and we think, I hope I don't die in a plane crash, because plane crashes are on the news all the time. Yeah?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And in the same way, Facebook gets floated on the market and everybody thinks, oh, Facebook, I know Facebook, I use Facebook, everybody I know uses Facebook, and they flock to that, even though it doesn't say anything about whether it's remotely investable. It's sort of like those episodes of the show that we used to clash with that we don't name, where they come up with a task and Lord Salt says, this week you're gonna be shoveling shit, and one of them will go, yeah, Lord Sugar, I shit in the toilet all the time, and I talk shit, and all of my ideas are a load of shit, so obviously I know shit better than anyone, so I want to be project manager on this task. And it doesn't actually mean that they'll be able to run it as a business. I know so many people who thought, I'm a game geek, I'll be able to run a game shop, and they've started up a game shop. Every one of them, to a man, has gone out of business.
Did that have benefits to you sitting outside doing poos on the doorstep, though? Because that's why mine went out of business. But,
I was very drunk.
that's what you always say. Like when I woke up the other night and you were there, an inch away from my face, just gently whispering the word Lynx Africa. Lynx Africa. Lynx Africa. The warmth from your breath had crusted one of my eyeballs shut. At least I hope it was the warmth from your breath had crusted one of my eyeballs shut. Then you went, oh, I've been drinking heavily. You managed to balance yourself on top of two side cabinets using a bit of rope from the loft. Anyway, yes, so free to play. We are a fan of free to play when done right. We're not a fan of people that deliberately market stuff towards children and then create massively overpriced bundles of in-game currency to enlarge their gaming. DLC is an issue that we're all aware of and we've all kind of accepted as a necessary evil. It can make a game better. Burnout Paradise via free and paid DLC was expanded and improved, despite being an almost flawless game to start with. So it's not fair to sit there and say that it's never works or that anybody's evil for putting it in. But there are certain moral implications if you do make a game aimed at children and then say, here you go, have £70 worth of fictional money, your parents won't mind. Even Blue Peter ensures that the kids have permission to use the phone. I want my iPad to do that. Have you had mummy or daddy's permission before you purchase this? And the kids would go, no, and then that would be over. Well, they don't do that. So that's it. So Mr. Apple, sitting there, listening to the show, I know you do, with Adam Sandler, planning out your next movie and technology bit. Put that in your next iPad operating system update. It'll be
because the Woz is sitting there with his cheese on toast listening to this.
He does. He emailed me the other day. He said, I've been listening to your show on an old Apple II. The sound quality's a bit poor, but what do you expect from an Apple II? And I went, yeah, got away with that one. Anyway, on the subject of Apple, Microsoft launched the Surface. Have you seen the Surface, Duncan? I hope you've seen it.
Yes, I was reading more about it today, although quite why they dragged out Bulmer to actually present something is beyond me, because he makes Reggie look like he's professional.
Don't start me off on Reggie.
No,
Reggie,
sorry.
Mr. Inflated Paedophile, Reggie. No.
I think I've actually found somebody at Nintendo for you to hate more than Reggie, Bouncy.
All right,
is that possible?
Scott Moffat, no relation to Stephen Moffat, this week said that he wants Wii U to be the game platform of choice for hardcore gamers.
Fuck off.
And I'm going somewhere with this. The example, oh god, I can't even read it on the back of this envelope without cracking up. The example he gave as to how this would ever be the case is he said it would be very useful in games like Call of Duty because it would move useful but annoying things like inventory off the main screen and create less clutter.
What?
Call of Duty, that famous inventory troubled game franchise.
Yeah, that takes one button to do anything with. Right.
Oh, I need to find
you jump or you shoot.
My mana potions. I can't find my mana potions. I say I haven't used my mana potions in any Call of Duty game, so perhaps that's the problem.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to find them.
Playing Black Ops on the Xbox, I just couldn't map my macros to the shoulder buttons at all.
I found I couldn't make any of my team use like repulsor lasers at all either. I couldn't command them to do anything. They just kind of ran around. It's almost like it was scripted. But of course it couldn't be scripted.
You were talking about cleaners that you wanted me to get from the shop. Surface, was that it? Mr. Muscle's Surface.
Oh, very funny. Anyway, no, Microsoft Surface.
That's not the name of the pad.
I'm really impressed, actually, with what they've done. It's almost like they've said, the iPad's doing well. We could do something like that. And then they actually...
It's availability bias.
They actually came up with some ideas that I watched and I thought, oh, I like that. I want that. And I don't want it, but I want it. And I didn't want it until they mentioned two magic words, which I'll get to in a second. But I love the idea of the case becoming a keyboard. I like the idea of the kickstand. It was just simple little things that Apple wouldn't have done because it doesn't fit in with their ideas. But it actually, for me, that would work quite nicely. And obviously with Smart Glass, which we talked a little bit about last week, and how Windows Phone 7s are working for Xbox Live, it's kind of interesting for what they could do. But the words that sold it for me were perimeter venting. When that came up as a major feature, I was like, well, hang on a minute. My iPad
I don't even know what that is, and I want to do it.
It's perimeter venting. I basically went on Twitter. I found every message that had mentioned perimeter venting and retweeted it straight away. I needed to spread the word of perimeter venting to my followers. Hamhock and I both agreed that was going to be the buzzword. But yeah, they actually listed it as a feature of the device, which is amazing. It's essentially, there is no singular kind of airflow. It's all around the side. It is perimeter venting. But it's an amazing
Welcome
use of
to
words.
perimeter venting on the spoff.
It's just I adore the word, and they actually
Squint with little tossing.
as a piece of technology, all it's really saying is this thing's going to get really hot. We need a lot of ventilation.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm thinking perimeter venting. It's like Alan Partridge got into the meeting when they were putting it together, left his dictaphone on the side, and somebody went, "What? Whose is this?" Ideas for new tablet. perimeter venting. And somebody went, that's really good, put that in. We need an extra 12 seconds on the thing. Put it in. I don't even know what it is. Perimeter venting. It sounds amazing. Yeah, perimeter venting. But anyway, we'll come back to talking about it in a second. But
perimeterventing.tumblr.com.
That's yours. Nobody else can have it, yes.
Perimeter venting, private detective.
Yes.
What's the case, Rim?
Right. Dr. Hock. I'm not going to let you beat me. Dr. Hock put me in touch with a friend of his. He's called Joystick Discharge. And he went out to buy...
Private detective.
Yes, he is. He's a private discharge. He wanted to buy the Microsoft Surface. So, of course, the first place he went to was somewhere in London. Swanky, swanky London.
Alright, you cunts. This is Joystick Discharge of the Holocaust. I'm on swanky Regent Street right now, about to go into the Apple store. See what those cunts think of their future competitor, the Microsoft brick palm window pane night thingy. See you in a bit.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking of getting one of these or that or a Surface, but I'm not sure what the benefits are for all of them. You're not going to be selling the Surface. You're not going to be selling the Surface here.
What's the Surface? Do you mind if I ask?
It looks like that. It's called a Surface. I saw it in the news. I don't know who did the release for it.
It's not an Apple product, no?
I don't know. It's called a Surface. It's got like a little stand on the back of it.
What does it do?
I think it's kind of like this pad. The kind of might be.
Microsoft unveils Surface.
So your alternative would be
the iPad.
This or the iPad. Yeah.
I've never heard of the Surface. What does it do? So it's a tablet, right? Okay. So it's a tablet that runs. It's their version of an iPad kind of thing.
Our survey said. Interestingly, that cunt said he was an actor in a previous life. I have no idea who's playing who here. This is bullshit. Listen to this.
There you go.
What you can do on here, I was working as an actor for 6 years. So I was writing lots of letters constantly every month to agents, casting directors, theatres.
Hello again, cunts. I'm in swanky Knightsbridge now. About to nip into Howard's technical department. I'm sure they'll know what the fuck is going on. Thing is, round here, you've got to act a little bit posher, ain't you? So it's no good speaking like this. You've got to speak a little bit like this.
Hi, I was wondering when you might be getting the Surface in stock.
The Surface?
It's like a tablet. It's called the Surface. It's a Microsoft product.
Oh, the Microsoft one, the new one?
I think it is, yeah.
I'm not sure. Let me check. Well. That was fucking interesting. I've had enough of this fucking swanky shithole. I'm going home. Fuck off.
So there you go. Joystick Discharge. Wandering the streets
more of that,
London.
please.
Yes, definitely more. I know Hock, when he put me in touch with him, he said, look, I've got this slightly dodgy friend. I said, haven't we all? And he said, no, not like Dalek. He said, I've got this slightly dodgy friend who has this knack of being able to go and question people, but he does suffer from multiple personality disorder. And I said, he is a lot like Dalek. So, yeah, he may come back and do some more stuff, talk about technology. He's our tech guru, much like you were a game guru, eh, Duncan?
Oh, they were the days when I didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah, and made people pay money to have cheats they could get on the internet.
So you were essentially a free-to-play game. It
Yes,
was like the Game
I
Guru
was.
game.
You're
You
a
can have
free-to-play
this.
game.
You can watch us for free, or you can text us for information that you could have unlocked elsewhere for free. But
Yep,
you will
I was
pay
the
for
bastard
it.
that started it all. My fault.
Yeah, it was your fault. There we go. Right.
Now then,
Yes.
we're over the hour now, and
We are.
if you like, that iPad thing brings us rather neatly into the roundup of random funny game shit.
It does, yes. It's almost as if you've got a running order in front of you, because that's exactly what it says.
Well, I can start off with
I've just
the
snapped my
news
pencil.
that...
No.
Oh.
I've had this pencil for ages, and I've just snapped it.
Is it an anime pencil?
No, it was a proper school pencil. Yeah, the black and yellow ones. It's one
Ah.
of those. I've had it for
You
ages.
finished? You
Yeah,
finished?
yeah, go on,
You
sorry.
happy?
Sorry.
Okay. An Apple store in America refused to serve a group of customers because they were heard speaking Farsi. Apparently, if it is prohibited by the American government to sell Apple products to Iran. So the Apple store staff heard them speaking a language which is spoken in Iran and said they couldn't serve them. Ironically, it turned out that they were actually planning to send the products to Iran in this instance. But they were still only buying them as a present for a cousin or something. Because God knows how many Apple stores there are left in Baghdad.
Well, you know, if I am going
Or
to be
is that
blown up
Iraq?
by a terrorist, I do want to be blown up by a kind of hippie
I think that's
kind of
Iraq.
Apple terrorist.
Well, there was that story like years ago about how PlayStations were being exported to the Middle East because you could use the chips in them to make a missile guidance system or something. So,
Yes, yeah.
I'm sorry, I've shot my bolt again. I don't have anything funny to say about this except that it's just further proof that Apple is evil.
Okay. Well, here's
Ta-da!
something that's even more evil than
Anything?
Apple. Zynga have managed to find a way of making money from Draw Something at last.
Oh, God, not this. We said we weren't going to do this.
Zynga have approached CBS in America to do a Draw Something television show.
Oh, joy.
It's
can't
going
wait.
to be win, lose or draw with Bob Mills or Danny Baker or whoever else presented it over its years of being on air. It's
And you're gonna
Pictionary
sit
the
at
telly
home
show.
with your iPad and be able to draw into them instead of write into
Yeah.
them. Like W12 8QT.
What I would love to see is that, yes, it goes to production for a full series, and that the maximum prize you can win is 3 coins. Whatever the highest denomination of coin is in America, they can only win a maximum of 3, and that's only if they draw something that's corporately sponsored. So yeah, it's just a kind of all the kind of little games that have been popular that made it to be a TV show. I know they did do a real world Farmville in I think it was the National. It wasn't National Trust, but it was of English Heritage. I think they had a farm, which was your farm, and you could basically actually decide what they did with the farm, which was a good idea. It made people aware of farming. All this does is make us realise how bad Americans are at drawing things. So,
I can't see how it's possibly going to work because either it's going to be completely sterile or it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
'Cause if they don't let people draw things straight into the show, it's going to be rubbish. If they do, Anonymous is going to get hold of it, and they are going to cock bomb the show into the ground.
Yeah, I might.
And
go,
that's
I might,
really all there is to. The only way it could possibly work is if it's like Bet365,
right.
where you can win things at home.
Yeah.
And it shows the people, and it shows messages from the people who've won stuff going, yeah, I'm great. And it could be quite addictive in that way, but not in the way they are imagining it.
I think they're going to actually just have people in the studio and go like, here's a word, draw it for your family, and see what
Draw
they can
Hitler.
guess. And it's like, up it comes. What's that? My friend, when he played it, every single time somebody was my best man at my wedding, every picture would start with a big veiny penis. And then he would either repurpose the penis as an object, or he would just draw the real object in the corner of the screen. And at that time, it wouldn't let you skip through the drawing very quickly. It now sped it up. So you just sit and watch him as he slowly drew thick purple veins up the shaft. So it's like, okay, come on. After the first dozen, I was fatigued, to say the least. So yeah, so draw something on TV. What could be worse than draw something on TV? Have you got a bit of gaming news you've noticed, Duncan, that you'd like to bring up?
There was a few bits I was looking at for surprisingly to talk about on Friday night. Hang on, let me get my unprepared script.
Ruin your show for our amusement.
Well, why the hell not? Let's be honest, I don't think we do any more planning than you do. We kind of just go, oh shit, we've got to go live in half an hour. What the fuck are we going to talk about?
You're saying
I can do one while you're loading up your C90 cassette if you like.
Go on, go for it.
Okay, do you remember when Anders Breivik was arrested for the something massacre, and the papers all said that he used Call of Duty or something to train?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right, just come out, that story completely fabricated.
Right.
What actually happened was his defense lawyer raised the fact that he was addicted to online games as evidence that he wasn't insane. He was raising he was pleading insanity, and the lawyer said, no, look, he is functioning in this online society. He is clearly capable of interacting with other people.
Clearly.
But this got mistranslated. The mistranslation got picked up by somebody on Reddit with an anti-game agenda. I said anti-game. And this Reddit article was reported as fact by all the news outlets.
No. News? What, that next you'll be telling me that BBC News put like the UNSC Spartan logo on during a news report. That would be ridiculous.
Back to Duncan. What do you got?
Really boring stuff, actually.
Definitely stuff from your show.
EA, everybody loves. Well, yeah. Our show is boring, full stop. Yeah, no one listens, no one cares. Wait, why would we bother? Anyway, EA are saying that the Frostbite engine that they've done for the Battlefield piss over that went on console. The Frostbite 2 engine is going to be for the next generation, so I assume they don't mean Wii U. I assume they therefore mean PS4, Xbox 5024 and 3, or whatever they're going to call it. I don't see that's really that exciting, because it's a nice engine, because they've got all the destruction stuff that they can do with it, which is obviously was a large part of the console iterations of Battlefield. So it quite what it'll do, obviously we don't know yet. They're all just saying, oh look, we're going to do this. So it probably means that what's it called, Medal of Honor? Yeah, that's the one. I think that's where they're going to end up going with it first, which means yes, we get another Medal of Honor game on next generation. Oh, whoop-de-fucking-do. Moving on.
Yeah, I mean, when you said it was pretty boring, I didn't believe you it was actually boring. I thought that was a bit of self-deprecation.
That was actually genuinely boring.
It was. I told you it's boring. Look, I don't gather the stuff for the show until Thursday night at the earliest.
That's good. What I like about it is the fact that the bit you've gathered in advance is the most tedious and non-news story possible, and then you figured, I'm going to use this.
This isn't game related, but it is mobile phone related. Houston, Texas, a political activist spray painted a Picasso painting. A sharp-eyed onlooker. I'm using that word.
Hello.
A sharp-eyed onlooker noticed him doing it and started filming him with their mobile phone, whereupon security sprang into action and told him he wasn't allowed to be filming.
That's pretty good. A similar thing, actually, Dave Gorman is currently touring with his PowerPoint presentation show. And as most stand-ups will attest, when they go to a town, they like to have a little walk around, get a feel for it, because it helps if you can talk a bit about the town. And he walked across some fields to go in the rear entryway to the theatre, where somebody called the police because somebody was acting suspiciously. And basically, the suspicious activity was he'd walked across a field. Now, nothing would say worse about a town that I lived in if the local news is like, man has walked across field in Lower Pidlington. It's like, oh, okay. The man, if we could even call him that, was seen ambling in a southerly direction towards the theatre. Police
It's
were
like the
called.
bear principle, isn't it?
It's just ridiculous to anybody. But also the fact they sent 2 police officers in enough time to actually get to the theatre before he'd arrived properly. And yet, probably down the road, some old woman's being beaten to death by a burglar. And it's like, no, we will not rescue Mrs. Timpkins. There's a man walking across the field. This is important.
The great furry comedian Two Griffins said that bears were always a sign of a slow news day. Because if there's a bear in the news, it means that somebody's phoned the police and said, "There's a bear!" Yes, ma'am, what's it doing? Nothing! And they've really been reduced to that.
Yeah. It's good. It was a great story.
The Brave, the new Dolby speaker, can play 128 different sounds at once. Does anyone care about that?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Siri, the iPad, is it a voice search thing? Bear with me, this one's actually quite interesting. It was unveiled that Siri now works in Cantonese and Mandarin, and it does, but if you ask it what happened at Tiananmen Square, it will scratch its chin and look at the floor. Along with several other embarrassing points on Chinese political history. So yes, Siri is a clever girl. She knows she doesn't want to go back in her box.
Oh, that was quite good. Okay, right. This is the last thing on my list before I talk about the game of the week. That's non-Lollipop Chainsaw.
Okay.
WWE 13. I don't know if you've seen this, Duncan. The amazing piece of pre-order DLC incentive they've come up with for WWE 13.
No, I've missed this one.
Because I know you. I don't know if you still have it. You were big into your wrestling, weren't you? Days gone by.
Yeah.
Did you just say he's big into his S&M?
Yes. He read.
Yeah,
he read 50 Shades of Grey and inspired me to do that in episode 5. But no.
Story of O, motherfuckers.
So no. With WWE 13, they decided, as they always do with these games, the last one I think was the Rock edition. The time before that, it was the Hitman, so you have Bret the Hitman Hart. Which WWE legend, which classic brawler are they going to bring back for the DLC of WWE 13?
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say the Honky Tonk Man.
No.
We should be so fucking lucky.
That would be good. Oh,
we should be so fucking honoured.
It's the Honky Tonk Man. No, it's not Brutus the Barber Beefcake. It's not even Coco Beware, my personal favourite. Everybody loves a parrot. No.
It's not G.I. Bro.
It's not IRS, if you remember him.
Jeez.
I saw him live at Peterborough Ice Rink. He was tag teaming. It was when he was tag teaming with Ted DiBiase at the time, and he was up against Doink the Clown. It was 2 against 1 match, and I met Doink the Clown, and I was like, "Yeah, it's Doink the Clown!" And I went to shake his hand, and he shook the person next to me. He looked at me and just pulled his hand away. Went no, and then shook the next person. So, like, my only overriding memory of my favourite wrestler at the time was he basically just went, "No, I will not shake your hand. I'm a man who's paid to dress as a clown and wrestle, but I draw the line at shaking hands with you, you freak." Anyway, right, so...
No, you've got to let me tell my story. I saw wrestling live at the Stoke-on-Trent Town Hall. The ring must have been about the size of a transit van to fit into the hall. And fucking Yokozuna was there. And he was in such bad shape. I don't know how much you know about Yokozuna. He had a heart problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he had a life-threatening fear of spiders.
Yep.
He was in such bad shape that he was having to tag out every minute. And people were holding up cartoon drawings of spiders in the crowd. And he died 2 weeks after that.
Right. Well, Stoke-on-Trent, if there's anybody here listening from Stoke-on-Trent, shame on you. You killed a fat Asian man. Yeah, so anyway, no, back to the original point. So which...
Sorry, please continue. That story's actually not that funny now I come to analyse it.
It basically
seems like
just
a good
comes across
idea.
as, here's a reason to never visit Stoke, particularly if you're fat and frightened of spiders. Don't go and fight in a ring in Stoke Town Hall if you're fat and frightened of spiders. Only go into... Actually, could somebody send an email after the show to Reggie, tell him that somebody wants him at Stoke Town Hall as soon as possible. It'll be sorted. It's like Britain's secret assassination society. Anyway, yes, so who are they added? They've added Mike Tyson.
The fuck?
I know. And not only, I mean, it's not like they've never had a boxer in WWF. I'm not going to call
I wish we had Paul here to react to this.
And the first thing I thought when I read it, I thought, if I pay to get this early, I can have a convicted rapist in my video game.
That is totally, totally unfair. Mike Tyson is reformed. He is a soft-spoken man of peace now. Seriously, I follow his Twitter. He's like turned into a eunuch. It's really surreal.
Yeah,
he just like posts poetry about how wonderful life is now.
Well, let's take that into account, right? So I pre-order my copy of WWE 13. I choose him for the ring. I go in for a grapple, and he goes, "No, wait. Let's sit down and think for a while."
That is actually what he's like.
Why are we here?
Weird.
Yeah, I don't want that. What I want is Mr. T.
Bite someone's ear off.
Someone in. Well, I'm not even fussed about that. I said to Dalek before the show, when we were just briefly discussing this, wouldn't it be brilliant if there was a mini-game where you just had to push wrestlers down the stairs and then deny it? And Vince McMahon comes bursting out of his office and goes, "Did you push him down the stairs?" And Mike Tyson goes, "No, it wasn't me. I am reformed." And he goes, "What are you talking like Chris Eubank then?" I don't know why I thought I could see back, but it's the only boxing.
You're fired.
Yeah. So if you want Mike Tyson in your WWE roster, then you're only going to get him if you pre-order it or buy it a little while later when it comes out as DLC. But I did think of all the people they could have added, that is ridiculous.
It would be unacceptable to me if Vince McMahon fired Mike Tyson, because then he would have joined TNA Impact Wrestling and that would have gayed it up.
Well, here's the other thing. Is that last week obviously we were talking about Snoop Dogg being in the background of the new Tekken game. So we've now got Snoop Dogg and Mike Tyson both in fighting games. Who next? You know, we've had Usher as well with Dance Central. I'm putting my money down, right? I'm putting my money down that the ghost of Gary Coleman is going to come back and be in some game with a little short dwarfish man. Going.
That would be nice.
I want Gary Coleman's ghost as the voice of Connect. That when it doesn't understand my voice, he goes, "What you talking about, Patsy Ball?" And I'm like, "No, Connect, listen to me." And he'll go, "Don't give me no jive." It's like, why? Don't be a stereotype. You're the black Connect camera. I could have had the white one, but I didn't want Mr. Wilson. I wanted you, Gary Coleman. Be nicer to me. And he's like, "Oh."
It's astonishing to me that wrestling games exist, because there's been 5 good ones ever.
See, I will never allow anybody to say anything against WrestleMania on the Super Nintendo and arcade. The arcade version of that I played at Butlins on one of my first holidays and adored it.
I would consider... Is that the WrestleMania? That's the one with Andre the Giant as the big boss?
Yes.
Yeah, WrestleMania and WrestleFest I would count as one game.
Not that new WrestleFest. Have you seen that? They're bringing it back with a slightly HD paint
I would count that as one of the 5. Can you guess any of the other 4?
I would say. Let me think. No, I don't know, because it's a bit. I quite liked some of them, but I don't think WrestleMania is kind of my limit. That was the best for me.
Torken Retsuden, which UK's repurposed, well, simplified to become SmackDown.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Fire Pro, Duncan just said it.
Yeah.
You cannot beat Fire Pro. It is just... I want to know what happened to the XBLA version of it, because it was announced at the Tokyo Game Show a few years ago.
Yeah, it was.
The Pro Wrestling Network Exciting Hour.
Right.
Which was released in the West as Matt Mania, which sounds more like a lesbian thing. I've
never heard of
if
that.
you
I'm gonna look.
It's on MAME. Download
is
a MAME ROM for it. It is absolutely fucking superb. There is a multiplayer sequel to it, but it's not as good. The gameplay is better, but you can't do as much shit. And finally, Rumble Roses.
You know, every week you find something that just... Oh dear. Do you know what I was hoping you were going to say? At first I thought the question was what was the best WWE or F game. That's what I was struggling with. If you ask me properly what's my favourite all-time wrestling game, Pro Wrestling on the Master System. It had the worst art case for a wrestling game ever.
If I hadn't decided to go with a comedy one for the 5th, I would have said that one, because I played the shit out of their game. I even beat the Great Puma.
Oh yeah, I used to play that with my sister all the time, and frankly, it was preferable to the reality of the situation, which was she'd just kick the shit out of me in real life. And on that, it was like I can have a luchador style wrestler, and I can jump on her and kick her in the head and not get told off by Dad.
By which you mean Starman, and you went dash, flying chop, dash, flying chop, dash, flying chop. Pretty
much. But it worked, and it doesn't matter. It was part of the game. The winner was me. But yeah, it's,
if you like that one, go and find Matt Mania.
Okay.
On MAME. It's the same kind of idea, but great. And it's got Darth Vader in it, and Popeye.
Oh, that's me sold. You should have said that before.
And ZZ Top and the Bee Gees.
Yeah, it really has as well.
Can you actually kill it? Can you actually kill a BG?
No, they're in the background.
Oh, see, I want to kill that last BG. I want to be the person that does it. And I wanted a training simulator that would allow me to practice. I have
that's
a plan,
the best thing about this year, isn't it? The Bee Gees. 2 down, 1 to go.
Exactly. It's like I bet that last BG is trying to sit in the freezer as often as possible. It's like, no, I'm getting all these royalties now just for me. I've got to stay alive as long as possible. But unfortunately,
I think we're out of material right about now.
We are. But I've just got one thing.
I will say it's not a news story, but it just made me laugh. The new Zero Punctuation went up today, and he did what was it, E3? And one thing that made me laugh was Yahtzee described the new Tomb Raider trailer as a cross between the scary bits in Indiana Jones and I Spit on Your Grave.
That's pretty much it. Fair.
Fair. That's quite accurate.
So right, well, I'll start rounding the show up then. We didn't have time to mention what I thought was the best iOS game of the week, Plague Inc., which is a game where you get to be a virus. You can be an infection and try and wipe out humanity. The game is brilliant. The game has been done before, and it's brilliant. It gives you those statistics. What makes the game even better is how you name your disease. Now, straight away, I was like, oh, the shits. I want everybody to have the shits. So I put that. It allowed it. The world started to succumb to the shits. And you can evolve it, so it'll then...
The shits has destroyed Europe.
Exactly. The shits started off in Greenland and then spread outwards.
It sounds like a band playing on Radio 1, the shits.
It does. But then, I then thought, well, hang on a minute, spread in. So I went, the legs. The legs are spread around the world. I was like, that's brilliant, that's working. I'm eradicating mankind at this point. I'm adding pustules and tumours and dysentery. But that doesn't matter, because it's amusing to me. Dr. Hamhock, I was talking to him on Twitter about it. He came up with one, which was Marmite. And it was Marmite has spread across Europe. Marmite has decimated mankind. Which gave us the headline, the title for this show, Marmite to Eradicate Humanity. It's just a great game. Do go and have a look for it. It's Plague Inc. Yeah. You can get it on iOS devices at the moment. There are other games like it, but do that one first.
So you didn't have time to plug that. I didn't have time to plug Wool.
No, you didn't. But you've got...
Have you heard of that?
I haven't heard of that.
No.
Wool is a Amazon ebook for Kindle. It is the most popular science fiction story on downloadable books of the year. One of the most popular science fiction books of the year, full stop. It costs pennies per chapter, and you can get the collection of the first 4 or 5 chapters for £4 or £5. It's nothing, almost literally. I've read the first chapter. It is brilliant. First chapter takes place in a Fallout 3 style bunker which is covered, which is situated in an impossibly poisoned world. It's covered in cameras, and the cameras project an image of the outside world, which is all ruined and covered in corpses, to the people inside to remind them how lucky they are. But the lenses keep getting crapped up as more and more dirt and dust accumulates on them over the years. So about every 5 years, they have to send someone out to clean, which will, of course, dissolve them because of the environment. But every single person they send out to clean, ostensibly as an execution, although the implication is more that it's a sacrifice to the lenses, every single person they send out cleans the lenses, because, you know, if you were chucked out like that, you would just stick 2 fingers up at the lenses and fuck off. But every single person cleans the lenses cheerfully and then walks off and dies on camera. And the point of the story is, why does it happen? And at the end of the story, you find out why it happens. And if you're not scrambling for your Kindle right now to find out why they clean, I want to know why, because there's clearly something wrong with you.
So
that's just the first chapter.
So that's Wool.
Wool, W-O-O-L.
Takes place in a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah.
Is it a sequel to Threads?
Ridley Scott likes it so much he has bought the rights to it for a movie.
Wow, that would be disappointing then.
Very probably.
But yes, as I said, my joke is it a sequel to Threads? For anybody that's not listening, do Google Threads, because there's an amazing.
Threads. That's Terry Nation, isn't it?
It was the one where the woman pisses down her leg at the beginning, and she's actually credited on IMDb as that woman, which is amazing. I just think if your CV, woman who wets herself, is on your CV, that's a pretty good thing. So yeah, well there you go. Well, I shall have a look at that myself in a bit. Download that from my iPad, because I have a Kindle app, and I don't need to have a Kindle. So yeah, so that's it. We're all newsed out. We've had the news bot explode. It's been quite an epic show. We've been running for just over an hour and a half. So, thank you very much if you stuck with me. The chat's gone deathly silent recently, so I'm hoping, that, well, not deathly silent. It just I just opened it, realised that people have been talking. I just hadn't noticed. So I apologise for not getting involved in that. It's good that people have been in, and we're heading rapidly towards our 1,000th listen, so that could happen this week, and hopefully it will happen, and then the good gods at Spreaker might interview us for their community awareness thing, and then they can kind of come up with some question about how to sum up our show themselves, which I'd look forward to. So it leaves me to say thank you very much to Dalek, as always.
Thank you very much. And I've got somebody on my chat arguing with me over whether Threads was Terry Nation or not, and now it's bugging me.
See, I don't think it was. I thought he did something else.
Terry Nation did Survivors.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think he did Threads. It sounded familiar, but from a different purpose. I think it was Barry someone, I'm sure, did Threads. I don't think it was Terry.
Threads. Nuclear Holocaust set in Sheffield.
Right.
Barry Hines.
There you go. Barry, see? Look at that.
Yep.
Check out the
author
big
of
brain
Kez.
of Brad. Yes, all right. So, fact fans, it wasn't Terry Nation. He was wrong, but it doesn't matter because we're Doctor Who fans, and everything's Terry Nation if it was relatively good and apocalyptic. So yeah, so thank you very much, darling, and thank you very much to Duncan from the Gamescast.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Sorry for keeping you up.
It's the problem is, I suppose, being an old man, if it weren't for the complimentary toffee crisps that we gave you when you came in, you'd probably been asleep by now, wouldn't you?
Well, more than likely, yeah. It's
and by complimentary toffee crisps, he means my toffee crisps.
Yeah. And it's very complimentary that I let you have them, basically. So, thank you again as well to Dr. Hamhock for sending over your audio brilliance. The show really is improved by having them in there. If for nothing else, I can go and get myself something to eat for 5 minutes, which is always nice. I might try and fit some pizza in next week, see if I can take the
Can you make them long enough for me to have a fag next time?
I'll play one and then we'll go into another one almost straight after. And do it
While we're talking about the shopping, can you please stop putting my wasabi on your fucking hot dogs? They are for sushi.
No, I will put my wasabi
only
wherever I like. But anyway, so thank you all for listening. At 99 minutes, it's our longest show ever, and I think probably one of the better ones. So thank you very much. We will see you next week, where we're going to have a guest on from That Guy's a Maniac. I suggest you go and look at that blog. Follow them on Twitter, and then you'll be up on what they know about. We'll be discussing all things Nintendo. So it's goodbye from us all, and thank you for listening.
We are the Holocaust. Our effect is massive, and our combat is mortal. Our gear is solid, and our brothers are super. Our cry is far, and our evil is residential. Our space is dead, and our dance is just. Our princesses are fat, and our birds are angry. Our cores are hard, and our fantasies are final. We are the Holocaust.